What's up, folks? Yes, it's another video, and it seems like that last post had a lot of women trying to figure out what does it actually mean to put yourself out there, right? So, one disclaimer that we have to understand. When it comes to putting yourself out there, this has nothing to do with the quality of men that you're going to find out there, okay? Putting yourself out there is a non-negotiable requirement when it comes to establishing a healthy relationship, okay? Are there exceptions to this rule? Yes. Sometimes the man does knock on your door. Sometimes you being in your routine, closed off in your tight bubble, sometimes you find that people are able to find you there and it works out. But you got to understand that you are the exception to the rule, okay? You don't bend the rules to the exceptions. You simply take note of the exceptions and you honor the rule. And for the majority of people, women in particular for this video, putting yourself out there has to be a mindset shift, okay? Women have to ask themselves, am I emotionally open or am I emotionally closed? Because it doesn't make sense that you put yourself out there into the world if emotionally you're still closed off to meeting people, to having experiences with people, to embracing the reality that people are different, to embracing the reality that people are going through things. You're not going to find a perfect person who is going to have everything you need right off the bat. But if you're emotionally closed, when you encounter this normal thing in life, you're going to get very turned off and you're going to say to yourself, this is why I don't date. Okay? Also, where's your capacity for risk? It doesn't make sense you try and put yourself out there if you don't have a capacity to take risk. Okay? Now, risk looks like different things for different people based on where they are in the dating spectrum. Okay? Sometimes for risk for certain people is just putting your feelings out there, reaching out to the person before they reach out to you, sending them a message before they send you a message, right? If you don't have risk capacity, then you're going to be putting yourself out there without results. Okay? Sometimes this means you got to understand that putting yourself out there is challenging the way in which you were brought up in this world, doing things a little differently, changing your mindset in terms of what you think about how men should act and how women should act. I'm not saying that you need to totally change your perspective and perception, but you got to understand that to make things work in 2023, how you act and operate may not necessarily translate into what people are looking for today. And if you don't learn to become more sensitive to that, you can find yourself losing that relationship race. Okay? Now, if this is the case, you're going to have to assess whether or not you have mindset blocks. Okay? Do you associate, for example, making the first move as something only men should do? Because if you're never moving women on men that you find attractive, on men that you have an interest in, what's going to happen is you're going to find that these men that you like are going to start following other women. Okay? The same man that you should have made a move on is the same man that another woman who doesn't have the qualifications like you, who's not as high of a quality of woman as you, she's going to be the one to snatch that man. And there's a lot of women that still have this outdated way of thinking that if the man is interested, he has to move on me first. I'm sorry, but this is 2023, and y'all are still operating like this is 1996. That has to change, okay? Now, you also have to figure out where you indoctrinated with some systems that are outdated. Maybe you had a mother or a grandmother that told you this is what you were supposed to do. And I can say as a therapist, I've observed that many women have been told to simply be nice, to simply go to church, to simply do their work, to stay to themselves. And if you do that, that will translate into a relationship. This is also why I see a lot of these good, high quality women suffering in their mid to late 30s, sometimes even in their late 20s. Because being a nice woman doesn't mean that you're doing the right things to find and establish a relationship with a man. Okay? There's what you need to do to make a relationship work. Sometimes who you are, that's not enough. Okay? I don't know you're a good person. He doesn't know you're a good person. You have to put yourself in a position to communicate these things so that people can see these things. And sometimes where people can't see these things, you got to be willing to take a risk on that issue. Okay? And then lastly, you have to ask yourself, do I struggle with fear? Some of y'all are too scared of rejection, and so you're letting people pass you by. You'd rather just be safe in your bubble as opposed to stepping out of your bubble to be seen as a conk. But if you got feelings for someone, that has nothing to do with them. Okay? Your feelings for someone is about you. You have to be the one who understands this. You have to be the one that accepts this, because if not, you're going to find yourself with a lot of resentment when you get older. That is what turns people bitter. That is what makes people say, I wish I would have done things differently. Don't use these opportunities and squander these opportunities right now doing things that you're going to later regret. Okay? And so sometimes people also struggle with negative self talk. Before you even take your first step, you are already talking and thinking to yourself that this isn't going to work. If that is your internal narrative, that's going to reflect in your energy, that's going to reflect in your actions, and all of these kinds of things, they're going to make it very, very difficult for this to translate into successful relationships over time. Okay? And so, this is why you got to make sure that in what it is you're doing, you have a very, very sharp, you have a very, very clear understanding that this is what I have to be doing for me. Okay? Now, I'm going to do another video talking about the logistics of what it means to put yourself out there. But I wanted this video to be mainly centered around the mindset shift that you have to engage in if you say you want a relationship. I understand that there's a lot of people out here who are not good quality people. There's a lot of pee in the dating pool. There's a lot of nanny in the dating pool and all kind of other unidentifiable objects. But that does not change the fact that you still have to move through it. If you don't develop a system and a tool to swim past the seaweed, to swim past the trash, how are you supposed to get to clearer waters? You got to stop complaining about the state of the dating pool and just go to where it's cleaner. Sometimes that means doing more work. Sometimes that means developing your patience. Sometimes it means becoming more clear on your values and what you have to be willing to do. But if you want a relationship, you have to understand that this is a non negotiable part of reality. Okay? Stay tuned for part 2.